That's right. That's right. Well, good morning. Today's date is April 15th, 2014, and this is the 9 o'clock interest session at the 41st CALLERLAB Convention in Sparks, Nevada. The name of our session is the Sicilian Circle, and I'm Jerry Junck. I'm from Wayne, Nebraska. I'm your moderator. And to my immediate right is my good friend, Daryl Clendenin. He's from Portland, Oregon. Give Daryl a nice hand, if you would, please. The description for this session states that we are to discuss how to use the Sicilian Circle in teaching square dancing. I will tell you that Daryl and I so believe in the Sicilian Circle and using it as a teaching tool. The single most important thing we do as a square dance caller is to teach new dancers. That's how we perpetuate the activity. The thing you have to remember when you're teaching dancers is if people get frustrated, learning stops. It stops immediately as soon as they're frustrated. So when you're teaching, you want to be able to teach efficiently and effectively and have the least amount of frustration possible. The Sicilian Circle gives you that opportunity. There are so many things that you can do with the Sicilian Circle. Daryl used to be in Mesa, Arizona with me in the wintertime. We teach beginners all the time. I wasn't with him. Well,
Oh, I got to turn it on. I wasn't with him.
you were down there at the same time, though.
In the neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah. We had more fun working and teaching and sharing dancers and stuff like that. Daryl went home one Christmas and came back with an idea that he had got from a guy named Jim Hattrick up in Vancouver, Washington. He said, this Sicilian Circle. And he said, we need to try this. We kind of went into it easy to see how it would work. The longer we did it, the more positive we were of how effective it is. And it has several advantages for dancers. You can teach everyone at the same time. Nobody has to sit out. There isn't, you have three couples that couldn't get into the square. They're sitting out, so the next tip you have to reteach. This takes that away. Everybody learns at the same time, and we'll demonstrate this so you understand what we're talking about. If you've got a couple that's struggling, you'll have some angels and say, well, you've got to dance with Gary. If you would take Gary out and if you would take Barb out, and right away they know you split them up. You can do that on the Sicilian Circle, and they don't know that they can't dance together. Also, if you get the couple that's fighting on the floor, take him away from her. He won't fight with a lady you don't know. So that helps. Not that that's ever occurred. Yeah. One of the things we don't sell about our activity enough to new people is the sociability, the people that we meet. The Sicilian Circle allows them to know everybody in the hall within the first tip. They've danced with everybody. It's an amazing thing. It also makes reviewing the calls when you start your next week. You can review the first tip that fast. It's amazing what the Sicilian Circle will do. I think, and I'll let Daryl choose his own words, I firmly believe the Sicilian Circle allowed us to teach in 1/3 the last time. Do you think? I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. Okay, and the big thing about it, it reduces dancer frustration. Big time, and you'll see why as we go along. It has advantages for callers. And there were a lot of hands went up when I asked how many were new callers. And you're trying to sight resolve, you're trying to learn to call. Here, the Sicilian Circle works with two couples. So all you have to do is pair them up. And to do two couples is quite simple. It lets you work on your calling skills without trying to remember who's with whom. It makes a big difference. It also makes reviewing the calls for yourself much more efficient, and Daryl will demonstrate that. With this introduction, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Daryl, and he will demonstrate the Sicilian Circle. I honestly think the demonstration clarifies everything that I've indicated here. So if you would give a nice hand to Daryl Clendenin.
Thank you. Okay. When Jerry and I really hadn't discussed what we were going to do till we got here, and on the way in I said, I think we ought to just start in the circle and show everybody what the possibilities are, and then we can take it from there and explain why it's good. So I think, what if I could please, we cleared enough space back there for a very, very, very small circle. If I could please have 2 couples of dancers go back there. And I don't know, but what maybe the chairs being turned around facing the other direction might make better sense. If you stand, I might not be able to see the dancers. So stand off to the side or something. Oh, 2 couples. 2 couples. 2 couples. 2 couples. 2 couples. We'll add to that as we go.
Yeah, 2 couples for now.
Oh, we have noise. I love it when we have noise. All right. I don't know if you ever have a class where you only have 2 new couples, or maybe you have 2 couples that would like to learn how to square dance, but you can't get enough to make it square. You can do this. Do it right or left through. Turn them. Star through. Slide through. Jerry said it's a great place to look and learn the fundamentals of sight resolution at the same time. If you make sure, as you're going along, you see Pat and Sherry. Raise your hand, Pat and Sherry. If I put them together, same place, every time, it's the same as the sight resolution, isn't it? If you can resolve 2 couples, you can resolve 4 couples. And if you have questions about that, we'll get into it another time. Okay, so touch a quarter, walk and dodge, partner trade. Then around right through and turn them. 2 ladies chain. Star through, pass through, partner trade. Star through, pass the ocean, recycle, sweep 1 quarter more, then around left through and turn them. Star through, do-sa-do, step to a wave. Boys trade, girls trade, swing through. Boys run around the girl. Couples trade. Bend the line, reverse flutter wheel. Send her back, Dixie style of an ocean wave. Boys cross, run to the far end. Girls trade in the middle. Swing through. Boys run right. Bend the line. You want to do something? Just so I don't forget any of the movements that we're going to
Star through. And they're right back home. Do you see that? Get her right out through and turn your lady round you go. Flutter wheel. Rolling, rolling round you go. When you're done, pass the ocean. Make a wave. Swing through. Spin your tops. Get her right out through and turn your lady. Flutter wheel. Go girls, bring a boy back. And you're home.
touch a quarter. Box circulate. Single hinge. Girls trade. Girls run around the boys. Tag the line. Face right. Wheel and deal faces 2. Boys walk, the girls dodge. You can do almost anything. Boys run around the girl. There's 0. As you're teaching, as you're calling, what are you doing? You're calling to 2 couples. I don't care if you have 40 couples on the floor. Call to the 2 couples that are right in front of you. Fix them back up. Could I have one more couple, please? One more couple. All right. That takes 2 people to make a couple. Just one, though. Not 2 yet.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, we're going to
add more as we go along.
But we just want one couple there. No, not yet, honey. Sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah, sit down. Okay. Pass through. Now, you automatically partner trade over here because we're only working with 3 couples, and you can explain that to your people when you're working with them. Do-sa-do that too. Step 2 away, girls trade. Recycle. Veer left. Veer right. Pass through. Do-sa-do that too. You don't have to have a full square. Look at them. Touch a quarter. Scoot back. Single hinge. Girls trade. Swing through. Spin the top. Slide through. Then I'm out left through and turn them. Pass through. Star through. If you're facing out, just trade the face in. Slide through. Square through 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Partner trade. Right and left through and turn them. Star through. Pass through. Do you see the possibilities?
Now, notice what we're leading up to here. Say you start your evening out doing your first review. Not everybody is at the dance, but we don't have to have even squares. We don't have to have anything. Everybody on the floor, everybody in that hall is in the circle, and we'll have a circle here in a minute. Now, if somebody comes in late, all they do take their partner and they step into that circle. They're in a ball game that fast. Nobody sits out. Nobody misses the review. Everybody's dancing.
If you had 4 couples, of course you'd have a square, and you just go ahead if you like and make a square. Otherwise, could I have 2 more couples up there, please? 2 more couples.
2
go ahead
couples.
And back out. Back out. This time we'll make a ring. 2 couples.
2 couples.
2 couples.
Now we still need another couple.
1 more couple.
We're not going to embarrass you.
I might. That's a dangerous question. Isn't
Sure.
It?
All right.
A gentleman would ask a particular lady. We have a circle, sort of a horseshoe-looking circle right now, but oh yeah, there you go. All right, circle to the left. Do an Alaman left. Right or left grand. Number 5 is always partner promenade. Oh, yeah. See, we're learning something already, aren't we? Back out and make a big ring. Circle to the left. Circle to the left. Roll this girl a half sachet. Circle to the left. Alaman left. Right and left grand. Promenade. They learn quickly, don't they? Back out and make that ring. Circle to the left. Ladies center men's sachet. Circle to the left. Ladies center men's sachet. You can do all kinds of things in the circle if you want. Alaman left. Then around a left grand. Personally, you don't have to get back to your original partner before you go on with things. Promenade. Don't slop. Keep on going. Back out to make that ring 1 more time and circle to the left. Ladies center men's sachet. Alaman left the corner. Promenade with the partner. Don't slop. Keep on going. Keep on second thought. Freeze. All right. Now, I'm not going to take time for teaching. Let's assume that I have taught all of the things that we call in here. This is just showing that you can do just practically anything that you want to call in this type of circle and teach it in the circle as well. We'll get to the teaching here after we show you the possibilities. But here's one way that I like to get into the actual Sicilian circle when I have, 5 or more. Pat, would you and Sherry please wheel around, face a pair behind you? And, pardon? Dennis? Okay. Good. All right. So you have 2 sets of couples facing each other. Pass through, move on to the next 2. You will have 1 couple standing idle while 2 couples are working. What you do is you stand there and wait till the caller once again says, Pass through, move on to the next. Do that for me, please. Pass through, move on to the next two. Touch a quarter. Yes, walk and dodge. Partner trade. Reverse flutter. I always like to get them back to their original partner before I move them on. Star through. Pass through, move on to the next two.
Star through. Square through 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Move on to the next. Notice that'll take away that courtesy turn on the end of your square through because they know they have to move on to the next. Star through. Square through, and you get me 4. Rolling round the ring you go. Move on to the next, and they never turn around on your square through. They know they're moving forward. Star through, and by doing this, square through 4, I keep their partners together. Move on to the next. All right? Touch a quarter. Scoot back. Boys fold behind this girl. Double pass through. Girls turn around. Touch a quarter. Check a new wave. Ladies trade. Recycle round you go. Pass through. Move on to the next. Here's Daryl.
Circle up 4 halfway around. Make a left-hand star. Turn it halfway around. Face that same 2. Do them out left through and turn them. Pass through. Move on to the next 2. Everybody back out and make one big ring. Could we have another couple, please? One more couple. We have limited space, but I'd like to have one more.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Circle to the left. Do an Alaman left the corner. Promenade with a partner. Don't stop. Now stop. Okay, and this I teach the very first night of my beginner lessons. Pat, would you and Sherry once again wheel around, please? Every other couple, wheel around. Good. Pass through. Move on to the next 2. Pass the ocean. Recycle. Sweep 1 quarter, please. Star through. Insides arch. Dive through. Good. Zoom. Leaders, partner trade. Star through. Circle up 4 halfway around. Veer left. Veer right. Move on to the next 2. Do-sa-do. Think that'd be enough? Step 2 away. Swing through. Boys run. Bend the line. How do I get them out of this? Pass the ocean. I'm kidding. Recycle. Pass through. Move on to the next 2. Back out. Make a big ring. Circle left. Freeze. Of course, I'm not going to take you through walk around the corner, seesaw the partner, and all of those, which all of the movements that you would normally do in a circle like this are available to you. Thank you very much. Does that show you anything that might be useful? You did notice that with each combination, before we moved on to the next, we did get them back with their original partner. Another thing that I like to do with my class is keep that couple going in the same direction throughout, to where they're not turning around going back. The one thing that you miss by having the Sicilian Circle is an Alaman left when they've completed a series of movements. To me, if I get them back with the partner that they had when they began and get them promenading or passing through in the same direction all the time, that's the same. Yeah, you can turn around. If we do anything more back there, we can kind of stand up and watch, I guess. But to me, that's the same as giving them an Alaman left. They know they've done it right. They know that they've completed it. And that's important. Alaman left is probably the most important movement in square dancing because that's the end of the game, isn't it?
And especially for new dancers, that's the reward and how you reduce frustration when they get that Alaman left or they get their partner back. That's a real reward for new dancers that go, yes.
Yes, that, and it's your reward as well. You know when you've done it right. The idea of this site resolving 2 couples. Everybody worries about, well, how am I going to put 8 people back together? You don't. You can put 4 people back together. Only 2 things can happen if they're facing couples. Either they have their partner beside them or they don't, right? If they do, then if it's a facing direction and they're facing the wrong way, do a right and left through. They're facing the right direction. There's not a lot to worry about with it. If they don't have their partner beside them, do a two-ladies chain or any of the movements that we have that will create a partner-changing movement there. Some of those will change partners as well as change facing directions, so maybe you can accomplish two things at the same time. Something like a flutter wheel. And here with everything else, while you're working these, particularly for the newer callers, it will help you realize what movements will and will not change partners. Very important tool in square dance calling. Know what will and will not change partners. Have you ever danced to a caller where they say pass through, trade by, right and left through, pass through, trade by, star through, pass through, bend the line, star through, pass through, trade, on and on and on and on and on? Well, they see the people that they want to get together. But for whatever reason, they just keep moving them back and forth across and around the outside, and they can never get them together. The one thing that's missing is a partner-changing movement. If they would do any kind of a trade, any kind of a circulate, any kind of a flutter wheel, any kind of a walk and dodge, any kind of a recycle, they would have what they're looking for, and that problem would be solved immediately. But to have that tool is very important. Also, teaching in Sicilian Circle. You have two couples facing each other. They know that everything that they are going to do is involved within that four-dancer grouping. That helps because they're not trying to get to the outside two. There is no outside two, inside two. Everybody is working strictly with the people that they're facing till they move on to the next couple. A lot of the confusion just disappears. And as far as getting them back, you can watch slowly while you teach, and that's a great thing. You can watch where they go, watch for problems. I always like it when I can have a floor of them that I can keep the partners together. Occasionally you're going to get a group where you have maybe a weak couple, like Jerry says, and might even be fighting with each other. What a neat way to do a mixer. Put them with some strong people. Split them up. Get them in with some people that are doing very, very well. Or just keep mixing them up. Sometimes they'll win, sometimes they'll fail. It's not a big deal. If you've got a mixer, nobody knows who they're going to end up with at the end of it anyway, right? And so the job is taken care of. You look like you were ready to say something.
With your permission?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I don't like to interrupt, but what he was talking about there, you have angels that are helping, and how many times when the angels come, they're there to make sure you have full squares. Sometimes you have full squares, and so they're there the whole evening and can't dance. This allows them to be part of the evening. They get to dance every tip, or whichever tip you decide to do this. We don't do it 100% of the time, but we do a lot of our teaching this way. And then we will put them in squares, do singing calls, whatever. But it allows your angels to be a part of the group. It allows the new dancers to become acquainted with the angels. And you don't have to split people up, as I said earlier. Also, they get to know everybody. By the time your lessons are over, they know every dancer in the club because they've been dancing with them. The sociability part of it's a big deal.
Yes. As far as teaching, I always start in the large circle. Always start with Alaman lefts, bow to the partner, bow to the corner, Alaman lefts, promenade, back out, make a ring, circle left, Alaman left, right and left grand, look for the person number 5. Look for number 5. Promenade. Back out, make a ring, circle left. I might teach roll half sachet. I might teach lady center men sachet, circle left. This all first night. Then eventually I will say, okay, hold it right there. I'll get out with Yvonne and I'll pick a wall to face and I'll teach them how to do a wheel around. Now, you could choose to teach them how to do a courtesy turn. It doesn't make any difference. The only difference between a wheel around and a courtesy turn is where you put your hands anyway, isn't it? Okay, so if you wanted to pass through a courtesy turn, by golly, I've got the same as right and left through without them touching. All right, so you've got the tools that you need to be able to move the people to where you want them. But once I get them back in the circle now, and I do an Alaman left, get them to promenading, I can stop like I did. I can pick out a couple that I can trust, maybe one of the angels that you know very well, and have them wheel around, tell every other couple to do the same. Now, there may be one couple that doesn't have anybody to play with. You explain to them and show them that it doesn't make any difference because they stand still for a couple of seconds and pass through, move on to the next. They're busy and somebody else gets stand still for a minute. Keep all of the combinations short, because the more you move them with their partner, the better they feel about what they're doing, the better they learn. Repetition, of course, being the best teacher of all. And here again, in the Sicilian Circle, you can repeat the same combinations over and over again, because they're there to learn, but they're doing it with somebody different every time you move them on. And it feels different every time they move on to the next couple. You're being forgiven a lot about the repetition. It doesn't become that redundant in the big circle. Am I talking too much? I hate to talk too much. Maybe we ought to ask for questions right now and see if there's anybody that has anything. He's turning something off. Oh, okay. There are no questions, though. Oh.
Questions? Who named it a Sicilian Circle?
I thought it was a Sicilian Circle.
Close enough. Who named it the Sicilian Circle? It's actually, there is a dance called the Sicilian. It's a folk dance, and it's done in a circle that looks like this. So we just adopted the name Sicilian Circle because of the particular formation.
Joe Gonzalez, Clovis, California. When you said that if a couple is arguing, they cannot get the moves, how do you move them away without telling them, you, because you're fighting, you go over there, you come over here?
Do you know a movement that'll change partners?
Well,
do you know a movement that'll change partners? Maybe a two ladies chain.
Okay.
And then pass through, move on to the next two. They'll take somebody different with them, won't they? And you separated them, put them with totally different couples. Now that happens to everybody. That's what I say. It turns it into a mixer. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Part of square dancing is changing partners all the time anyway, isn't it? Yeah, we don't worry about that. Change partners. Recycle, flutter wheel, walk and dodge, reverse, whatever.
Also, you know who your angels are. And if maybe you have a really good guy for a gal who's maybe struggling, someone you know that will take care of her. With the Sicilian Circle, you can two ladies chain, take her away from her partner, pass through, move on to the next. Maybe you have to do it 3 or 4 times, but you can get her to that guy. Two ladies chain, she's there. And you can make her feel much more secure by having that guy that you know you can trust, that will help her without, being rough or rude or something like that. It's very good. Bob Riggs.
Bob Riggs, Centennial, Colorado. I use this, and I think the important thing, you guys said turn it into a mixer or you take them away. You can take them away, dance them what you want to dance, and bring them right back. And so they think it's part of the pattern, part of the dance that you've created, where you've taken them down a couple of spots, had them dance with some different people, and then bring them back to their partner and let them be successful. Something that I make sure that I do is I get people to realize what their facing direction is as a pair to start with. And part of the success factor is they ended up with their partner in their facing direction, because that makes them feel like, oh, okay, we got where we belong, we're facing the right way, and it's that Alaman left kind of concept that you were talking about earlier.
That success factor, and especially important for new dancers. Other questions? Okay, right here. Barry.
Barry McCombs, Calgary, Alberta. Do you have any comments about couples who are very uncomfortable about moving on to somebody else, particularly on a first night or dance party situation?
Comments about people that are afraid to touch other people, basically, is what you're saying.
Afraid to get away from the partner one way or another.
Well, that just, as far as teaching, no, I don't guess I do, because without that, you don't have much in square dancing, because even if you're in a square, one of the first things that you do is get away from your partner. You probably find it easier to do it this way because they're not dealing with 4 couples, only 2 couples together. And if you put them right back together again, they're not really leaving because they're still in that little group of 4 dancers. You haven't separated them, take them along. Now, for the ones where they're struggling, I don't have too much problem with that the first few nights, because we do a lot of circle left and all that, and heads prominent. And when we get in squares, because we do get into squares very quickly with this, and they already know how to promenade, so you do your circle. Everything you do in the big circle, you can do in a square. Does that make sense? As far as the circle figures, Alaman left, right and left grand, do-sa-do, promenade, all of those kind of things that you first teach in the big circle can be done in the square. So you go through those things. And then maybe you'd say heads promenade half, sides promenade half, show them their homes and all of that stuff. All of the normal first night material you can do in the circle and then in the square. As far as changing partners, I don't generally do a square through in the square the first night. Sometimes I have been known to do that. Yeah. Well, if they can do it as 2 couples, they can do it pretty easily, as long as you don't get real deep and complex. If you said head square through 4, do-sa-do, the corner, maybe swinger, or maybe promenade half. I don't know. Those things I'll let you figure out. I've got a book that has all that laid out for you. I don't have one with me, but there's one available through Palomino if you're really interested in doing this, and I've got lesson plans all laid out in there.
One of the things that you will find, we put them into squares very quickly, and notice that we had them do an Alaman left to right and left grand, 5 girls. When you put them in the square, let them understand that it's just a small Sicilian circle, and that right and left grand, the 5th girl, is your girl. And it so that you can see the comparison, how it differs. If we've done all of these things in the Sicilian Circle, when you put them in the square, everybody can have heads promenade half, down the middle, right and left through, 2 ladies chain them back. They've done all of this stuff in the Sicilian Circle, but notice then all I'm having is the head couples do this. With the Sicilian Circle, everybody's working. And so when they get in the square, they understand that concept, and you're not teaching to the heads, then turn around teaching to the sides. You've already taught that, so then they actually get to dance it in a square setting.
Yes.
Ray Patterson, Turlock, California. If you're doing a one-night stand and you have, say, 25 or 30 couples, is it possible to put together 2 or more Sicilian circles, possibly with odd numbers of couples in them?
Sure.
How do you deal with it?
I don't. I have had class groups that were very, very large to do the single circle, not as a movement, but in the big circle, where I've had them go circle inside a circle, and up until we get into the couples pass through, promenade on to the next. Then that big circle was a lot smaller. It was plenty small enough that it fit into the area. Do you have groups that large? Oh, on a one-night stand, you said?
One-night stands is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't have a facility large enough to make one big circle, but they could put together 2 or 3 smaller circles.
Right, yeah.
Like in their pool house or whatever like that.
Yeah, but the big circle and the inner big circle, I'll call them big circles for lack of a better term. In as many as you want. I think once you get them into couples, that kind of compacts everything. They're not spread like this. They're here with their arms down at their sides. I don't do a lot of things in a square the first lesson or two. I do get them in a square. I do dance them in a square. I do dance a singing call the very first night. Probably the first figure that I'm going to do with brand new dancers. First night, brand new dancers. For the singing call, circle left, 16 beats. Circle right, 16 beats. Stop, phase your corner. Alaman left the corner. Right and left grand, meet your partner, promenade. Do they have a half promenade? Yes. Does that bother me? No. They've got 8 beats to get there and 8 beats to be late, if they need to be. For the heads, promenade half. Sides, promenade half. Back out, make a ring. Circle left halfway. Alaman left the corner. Do the partner. Go back, take the corner by the hand and promenade. Swing, that doesn't come till the second lesson. I don't worry too much about swing till I get on down. Usually it's going to be 3-4 lessons in before I do too much swinging. But some people like to do it, so whatever. Question or comment?
Okay, in the back. Thank you, Bob.
Hello. John Maris, San Diego, California. What would you consider to be, say, a minimum number of couples to make a good circle?
2.
Okay.
Well, I just figure that what is there in mainstream level square dancing that can't be taught to 2 couples? 4 ladies chain, 8 chain figure, 8 chain through, 8 chain 4, blah, blah, blah. All 8 circulate.
Spin chain through.
Spin chain through.
Grand square,
Grand square, thank
Grand
you.
square.
Yeah, I
probably wouldn't, but you could.
Yeah. No, there's some things you're just better off to teach in a square. But it's only going to amount to, what, 8 to 10 movements out of 69, 68? 68 it is now, I think. Why'd they get rid of 69? What was the 69? Not part of the topic, is it?
No.
Okay.
No. Do you see the value of what this can do? How that nobody sits out. This was our thing when we started this down in Mesa. We kind of inched our way into it, and then we got to see every week when the people came back. We did all of our review of the first tip, and we reviewed everything to everyone. No one sat out that first tip waiting on enough people to show up so that they could get in and get the review. It expedited our lessons. It also allowed us, instead of having the heads do something, the sides do something, when we would do it this way, we could work all of these calls for all the people in the hall instead of working the heads, working the sides. It really makes a big difference in the efficiency of your lessons and the time consumed.
Is it on now? Yeah. I want to thank you two guys for putting this thing on, because when I started dancing back in the 60s, we did a lot of this. And I had forgotten. And you solved one of my problems today with people that have been dancing 35 years. They forgot that the first person they meet on a grand right and left is their partner. And as soon as they get to their significant other squeeze, they grab her, and what happens to the square if it's out of focus? And I've been preaching to the club back and forth on that, and they still grab their partner, and the square goes in the tank.
In the large circle, for the beginner classes, I will say, teach the Allemande left, teach the right and left grand, and we will drill, 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 drill. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Allemande left, right and left grand. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, partner. Whoever that number 5 is your partner. And you say, hello, partner. Take it by the hand and promenade. Teach the promenade positioning and everything. And then back out, make your ring, do the same thing. Allemande left, right and left grand. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello, new partner. Promenade. It just cleans up a whole bunch of confusion in a lot of different things that way. Bob?
Yeah, I had a question about...
Who are you?
Bob Riggs.
Oh.
Centennial, Colorado. Thank you. My question is the real kinesthetic learners, the ones that are not just, they're really square-oriented, they're really focused on certain directions and the geometry of the room more than the geometry of the couples. Do you encounter any issues related to that? By using... Yep. The nature of the kinesthetic learner who's really honed in on the geometry of the room or the geometry of the people they're in, this is a different geometry. Do you encounter any issues in your experience with this?
Actually, did I turn mine up that time? Oh, okay. I was about to say something. As far as what you're talking about, having the walls being confusing, in a circle, somebody's going to have their backs or be facing or whatever that corner or this corner. And your two couples are going to be this way rather than this way, evened up with the walls. And yeah, there's some movements. I get into something like a spin the top, where I'm going to ask somebody to turn 3/4. Naturally, it's going to be a lot easier for them to adjust to a wall than it is to the couple itself. Other than that, I would say probably working with the two couples does more to teach them to dance within the box of two couples rather than off from the walls. Of course, your circle figures doesn't make a lot of difference, does it? Stars, your Allemande dar stars, circle, those kind of things. Those are all circle figures to me.
In reference to what Bob was talking about, if you danced with me at all, you know I get on the boys pretty hard. I have a lot of fun.
And other callers, too.
Daryl, I'm always good to you. You know that. Everything I said is
Everybody
true.
thinks he's such a nice guy. It's an act.
Everything I say about Daryl is true.
You should see him when we were out on... I'll talk about that later.
Oh, Daryl comes up in conversation even if he's not around. One of the things that I do at all of my classes when I get them into squares, I tell them this is square dancing. There are a few exceptions, but if you're not facing the couple that you're dancing with square on, chances are the boys are wrong. If you're not...
That was a joke, by the way.
If you're not facing a wall, if you're not square with the walls, chances are the boys are wrong. And I go through that a lot. That you're dancing with a couple in front of you. It's called square dancing. And if you're looking in a corner, boys are wrong. And I use that all winter long. And, of course, every once in a while I have somebody come up and say, Jerry, you're killing me. You're absolutely killing me, you know. But it becomes a game. But I want them to understand that it is indeed square dancing. And they need to be aware that you want to be square with the walls, square with the couple that you're working with.
Another thing that I do like to do when I'm teaching, I brought up the subject of spin the top. I will use what's more of a contra line, facing couples and one of the big... I'll have the big circle, I'll have a break down the middle, have them come together in facing lines with their partner. I might have to adjust one couple over here to even it up, if there's one extra. there again, that's not a big deal. I can have the one end stand still for a moment while the others circle 4, half, and a quarter more or something like that, to where you have facing couples in a long line. That way when I walk through, everybody is facing the same walls and everything, and get them back to that facing line there and pass through, move to the next couple. And the outside couple does a partner trade or a California twirl, whichever that you've taught. And somebody new is standing idle while everybody else gets to walk through again and dance it and pass through, move. So it works the same way with the long contra line.
Can you see the value of what this is? If I have anything that I believe in, and I speak for Daryl as well, I believe in this method of working classes more than anything I've ever done. It will expedite your classes. I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think it cut our teach time down a third. And it reduced frustration to almost zero.
And for the newer caller, 2 couples, 3 couples, 4 couples, 5 couples, it can change your visualization of what a square looks like out there. It turns 4 couples into 2 couples. Now, what's the difference between, if you have 4 couples, what's the difference between pass through, move on to the next, or a pass through, bend the line?
Or a pass through trade.
Same thing, isn't it? So, it all applies in the square, out of the square, and it just helps you as a caller to see what's happening out there, and it just shortens that dance teaching period so much. It's very worth the time spent on it. It really is. And yes, get them into squares the first night. I don't dance them in the Sicilian Circle. Very little. I'll do a warm-up in the Sicilian Circle. When they're first coming in, I will teach in the Sicilian Circle because I can get them in the circle. They're all facing the center. I can get out in the middle with another couple if I need to, and demonstrate right out in the center where everybody can see it very well. And before I go back to the stage, I can talk them through it, get them through it while I'm down there on the floor, and then get back up on the stage and call it. Just an excellent way to not only demonstrate, but teach as you do.
Yeah, this session is called the Sicilian Circle, but it's really about teaching the single most important thing we do as callers, and it's the little things you do and the little things you can do to expedite that teaching. And the Sicilian Circle allows everybody to be involved all the time, especially for your teachers. Other questions?
We are so darn thorough. No questions? Would anybody like to try it? Not dance it. I mean, get up here on the microphone and move some dancers through. Hey, what's the worst could happen? You not get through it? Big deal.
Yeah.
Come on,
Bob
Sherry,
Briggs will demonstrate for us.
Yeah. Could we have,
Yeah.
Let's make it 6 couples.
Let's make 6 couples.
6 couples back there, please. Bob is just chomping at the bit to do this. Is that same music all right for you?
Yeah, that's fine. That was good. This is a little loud, isn't it? I think you got a little too much. I stand in front of it. Okay. All right. 6 couples. Sicilian Circle.
Big circle.
Big circle. Big circle. Big circle. 3 more. 2 more. 2 more. And you need a man and a couple. There's a man coming your way. He's even wearing the same color, close to the same color shirt. Might actually.
That helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sir, you're going to need a partner. There you go.
All right.
This is Bob Briggs.
Join your hands and circle to the left. Alaman left your corner. Do, sa, do. Join your hands, circle to the left, do round the ring and now. To the corner, Alaman left, and then weave the ring. Which Which one are you looking for? I hope it's number 5. Do a do-sado all the way around. Make a circle, circle to the left, do round the ring and now. Ladies center in the men's sachet. Alaman left this corner. Do the right and left, grand, grand, do right and left. Do-sa-do. Go back to the corner, take her by the hand and promenade that ring. Promenade around the ring and now you back right out and circle to the left, around the ring and now. All 12 to the middle and you come on back. All right. Alaman left. Promenade around the ring. Everybody freeze. All right. Jim, you and your partner wheel around, and every other couple wheel around. Do the right and left through and turn the girl in now. Pass through on to the next. And a right and left through and turn the girl in now. Pass through. Star through. Do the right and left through and turn the girl in now. Veer to the left. Chain down this line. Turn this girl. Pass through on to the next and now. Do the right and left through and turn the girl in now. Slide through. Square through, go 3. Reach out to the left, courtesy turn this lady. And chain her across. Pass through on the next.
All right.
Do the
now,
right and left through.
Okay, good. Now, do I just stay that way? Do I have one more? Someone else?
One more couple.
No, well, not one more couple. Let's have another caller.
Oh, another
Come
caller.
up and try this.
Come on,
Don't
you
get
can do
bashful.
it.
We're not.
This is not hard.
We don't care if you resolve this. We want you to try it so you can see how it works. Would you like to try? Okay.
We have one.
We have a guy. All right.
Everybody forward and back. Pass through and on to the next. Right and left through. Make yourself a right-hand star. All the way back with the left-hand star. Do-sa-do your partner. Do-sa-do your opposite. Pass through and on to the next. Right and left through. Ladies chain. Chain them back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you see that you don't have to worry about a thing? You don't have to worry. Cal? Okay, just a second. Bob will get the microphone back to Cal.
I'm Cal Campbell. I've been invited to do Visit with the Legends, and it's made me dredge up all kinds of things in the way of memories. We danced in the 1960s with Lee Helsel in Sacramento, California. He had a club that danced every night, 22, 23 squares. Okay? Big gym. Every night we had what was called a mini set, which is essentially now what we term a Sicilian Circle, and the club loved it. You need to understand that this is something that you can migrate into what you do with your clubs. It's thinking outside the box. In other words, you move outside the box, and it suddenly becomes a totally different environment. Witness what happened with you right and left through. You had to suddenly go from orientation to walls to orientation to couples. Well, you know, I never try and explain you. Okay? And this is a wonderful way to do it. You can also scatter promenade. In other words, instead of putting them in a circle, you can say scatter promenade any way you want to in the floor. Orient with another couple, and once again, I'd go with back up to a wall or face a wall. However, I danced for a long time in Santa Fe in a chapel that was hexagonal in shape. And so I learned an awful lot about teaching from that aspect to shift from walls to orientation to the couple and things like that. But don't hesitate to put this in your square dance program. It'll work.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry. For those of you who may have had me show up to call one of your dances, you might remember that typically when I'm calling a guest dance someplace, I'll start with the big circle and the Sicilian Circle. And I get a lot of really, really strange looks when I say, oh, okay, I got all these squares out there. I say, okay, everybody back out, make one big ring. Huh? Make one big ring. Everybody in one big ring. And that's, a beginner dance, And they'll get out there and they'll start going through it. And you can use this all the way through advanced if you like. Because here again, most of your movements are two couple things. And when we get done with that first tip, I get lots of people come up and say, that was fun.
It's very different.
They get to dance with everybody in the hall all of a sudden, and if you've got strangers out there for the first time, they're getting used to being with the people they're with. They're all succeeding throughout. Very important. And at the same time, while they're down there, guess what you're doing? Say, he belongs with her, he belongs with her, he belongs with her. You're learning who is out there, and that comes very, very handy when it comes time to call to the squares.
The only negative to that, if you follow Daryl into a town, they'll come up and say, this strange little man was in here last week, and he did this.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
You just think he's nice.
Yes. Here.
I'm Joan Boyd from Alberta. I don't know where I am in Alberta because I move around a lot. Anyway, my comment on the Sicilian Circle is it eliminates the possibility of the same people squaring up in the same square all the time. You get to dance with everybody this way.
Yeah, all of a sudden, too, you do not have weaker couples. There are no weak couples. They've all been dancing with everybody, and they've danced with the stronger couples, they've danced with the weaker couples. All of a sudden, you have no weaker couples. They're all the same.
One thing I did not say was, in the Sicilian Circle, after we've danced them, warmed them up, or taught and drilled them through whatever I want to, I'll say, okay, circle up 4, pick up 4, circle up 8. Stop where you are. Pick a home. And they're right close to either being heads or sides in a circle, and they just square their sets that way, and you're right into squares to go ahead and dance whatever it is that
Demonstrate that. You've got 8.
Do I have 8? Cool. Okay, circle left. Okay. Don't do that. Okay.
Pick up a couple.
Just bend to face the couple that you want to, and the others do the same. Okay. We don't have 8. We've got 6.
I'm sorry.
You can't count very well.
I'm from Nebraska.
He did that on purpose. You just think he's nice. Okay, but pretend there's another couple there. Circle up 4, pick up 4, circle up 8, not 16, not 12, just 8. Okay, the ones that get it. All right, the other 2, pretend like they had it. Stop where you are. Okay, do you have heads and sides? Sure you do. Sure you do. You got heads and sides, so you can go right on into your square from whatever it was. If you taught a square through, you can say head square through, do-sa-do, with the corner, turn back to the partner, promenade, or blah, blah, whatever.
Notice what we're talking about here. Instantly, he has a square, and we didn't lose time getting squared up and everybody holding their hand up, and, well, we need one here, one there. Instantly, they're squared up. And again, you don't lose that time that it takes to reorganize. Yes, in the back, and I'm sorry, here, Bob will bring the mic back to you.
Anyway, I'm the one that has no excuse. One of the things that my wife and I'm sorry, Mike Bentley. I am from Pueblo, Colorado. Go to Denver, 100 miles south. Anyway, one of the things that my wife and I have started to do at some dances where you get out there and you're missing two is we'll start dancing a Sicilian Circle. And if we wind up facing out because, of course, the caller is calling to squares, we just partner trade California twirl. And if we can't do something, we just don't and continue on. So, that's a way of at least demonstrating it. And I just was thinking, and it's a lot of fun because you really do have to think as a dancer.
Very good.
Done.
Anybody else like to add something or have something cleared up?
Tom.
Thanks. Tom Hollenberger, Manhattan, Kansas. Singing calls, you just got to make sure it's not a call that needs 8 people.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of singing calls in the Sicilian Circle.
I do none.
Well, it's going to involve circle figures, walk around the corner, seesaw the partner, back out, circle up. You can do that, and you can do it with partner changes, but chances of you getting back to that original partner diminish greatly. Cal can tell you exactly how to do it because he's done it so many times.
Cal Campbell. Sicilian Circles are a category of dance. If you go look, you can find dozens of routines that are done to Sicilian Circles. There are 64 beat routines normally, and you can prompt them. Give the dancer the beat. Instead of calling them, prompt them. Learn how to find the phrase and then prompt the routine. You can make up hundreds of these things that'll work fine. Now, you're not going to be doing singing calls, but you are going to be using singing call music. You just pull the same stuff out of your case, learn how to prompt a little bit ahead of it, do the routine, and now the dancers are dancing to the music. And for many of them, this will be the first time in square dancing they've ever gotten the opportunity to do that. Okay, see what I'm talking about? All right. One thing you need to remember is this isn't a game where you try and change the routine every time. What you'd like to have them do when they do this is turn off their brain, dance to the music, which means the routine that you create or call to the 64 beats needs to be repeated throughout the entire record. It's not a game of trying to trick them. It's a game of saying, hey, guys, look at the music. Okay, what I like to do is I get in and I say, okay, folks, you're going to have to memorize this routine. About 3 or 4 times in, as soon as you're good at it, I'm going to shut up and turn the music up.
Yep.
They love it.
I'll tell you what, gang, just a personal opinion, what Cal was just talking about is a whole lot of what we are missing today in our squares, let alone the Sicilian Circle. The idea that you can just get out there and dance a piece, good flowing piece of choreography multiple times and enjoy dancing to the music. We've turned into such a group of callers that we're so busy trying to change everything all the time and make it challenging to the dancers that I think we have lost a lot of the dance aspect of what we do.
Those of you in the back, unless you want to call again. Okay, why don't you have a seat? Come on up front. Sit down. Give them a nice hand for dancing. Thank you.
Hey. You know what you're pointing out there too is that the would you be quiet? I'm talking. The idea here is that you cannot come into this with extemporaneous choreography. And I think that's the big point that Cal makes and that you gentlemen up there are making as well. This is not something that you just come out here and guess your way through it. You've got to know what you're doing before you say it and let it happen and let the dancers win rather than you kind of guessing your way through it. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah, I mean, it is that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is we try turning the whole thing into
choreographic puzzle game. Now the challenge for the caller, when he's got a square and a singing call going, okay, how many different figures can I put in here, right? I mean, how many callers today call the same figure 4 times in a row? Because you can't do that. Dancers are going to get bored with it. You know who's getting bored with it? The caller. That's right. We don't do that for their part of the game. We do that for our part of the game. If you've got a good piece of choreography, a good piece of music, and you do the same figure 4 times in a row, guess what? You can start performing. It's got more to do with how well you call that singing call than it has to do with the choreography. We've turned absolutely everything in square dancing into choreography rather than dancing. And, of course, the Sicilian Circle, that's a teaching method. And I'm getting off topic again, aren't I? Sorry.
Well, that's what we're talking about, teaching. For those of you that are the newer callers, working the Sicilian Circle also allows you to see the perspective that the call actually is working generally with 2 couples, not the entire square. Sometimes when we do our schools, we see everybody trying to watch the whole square when actually everything happens 2 couples, 1 on each side. The Sicilian Circle will allow you to see that in your mind, that you're not concerned about 8 people, those 4 people that are working together. That was Buddy Weaver made the comment earlier. And Bob, you have another comment?
Yeah, and it was sort of in reference to Buddy's comment. If you're teaching, it is extemporaneous in relation to what you're teaching. Because you may go through a figure several times. You may go through a pattern several times just to help learn that. And you may move them on and do that pattern again and bring them back. What I was doing here was extemporaneous. I wasn't trying to do what I would do if I was using it in place of a singing call. I would be using a 64 count figure that moved people in a certain way, and I would have them with their partner moving along because there's a particular, shall we say, wow effect of doing a Sicilian Circle where they can do the pattern and dance to the music and enjoy it, which is different than the teaching mode, where I think is very extemporaneous in some ways because of the teaching goal.
Right. How many of you here call progressive squares? How many of you have no idea what I'm asking? Okay. A progressive square is where you'll have an equal number, a symmetric number of squares, and you get them in lines, and you say pass through and move on to the next. They'll move on to the next square, and part of them will be facing a wall, and you say if you're facing a wall, automatically, California twirl, you do something, pass through, move on to the next. If they're facing a wall, the California twirl, and somewhere in there you can turn them around, bring them right back up. What you do is you look at this 2 couple here or that 2 couple there, whatever. As you're looking across the floor, pick out 2 couples that are facing each other. Take one of them down all the way down the other end of the hall with that partner, being no matter what you call her, make sure they're back into lines with that girl by their side, and move on, turn around, move them back. When they get back up here, circle left or star through, square through 3, element left, they're back in their original squares. Does that make sense? So it's still 2 couple. I don't care if you cannot cite to 2 couples, you cannot cite to 4 couples. If you cannot cite resolve 2 couples, you cannot cite resolve 4 couples. And trust me, 2 couples is a whole lot easier to deal with.
Speaking of this progressive square thing, a few years ago we had some of the legendary callers call. One of them was Jerry Helt. We had a huge crowd. He did progressive squares that night, and he is the most uncanny at that anybody I've ever seen. Did his patter, had everybody out, used the singing call and brought him back. And I was standing there, and I could see they're about there, and boom, he had them. And we had a big crowd.
Do you think that was extemporaneous?
No. Absolutely not. But that's what we're talking about. This is a teaching tool. It is a teaching tool. And again, I said there are advantages for the dancers. we've kind of gone through those advantages that we perceive to be effective. But it's also an advantage for the caller, especially if you're a new caller and you're learning to call. You can see how calls work, how they can be resolved. You can resolve to two couples, get them back together, move on to the next. You're not under the pressure of trying to resolve a square. All you're doing is getting two people back together, pointing them in the same direction, move them on. But it lets you work choreography and understand how that choreography can be put together, how you can work these various calls. Notice Daryl did flutter wheel, reverse flutter wheel, walk and dodge, partner trade, reverse flutter wheel. You can see how these calls go. There's a little call analysis sheet that CALLERLAB has. This allows you to use those tools, and it is a teaching tool, the Sicilian Circle. And again, we're going to close. I don't see any more questions, but Daryl and I believe in this so firmly. If I have anything that I could give you when you walk away from this convention, would be that you take this home to your classes and try it. I'm not asking you to use it. I'm asking you to try it and see if you don't find it to be one of the best things you can possibly do. I want you to give Daryl Clendenin a really nice hand for being a part of this.
And Jerry Junck.
And thank you so much for your time.
If you have any questions that you were afraid to ask, stop us out in the hallway or something.
Or
we'll
come
be
up.
happy to discuss it.
Thanks for coming, guys. It's a nice crowd. We appreciate it very much.